The NFL, these teams, these general managers, these owners, they're going to keep it a buck, 100% with you. A buck. Say it a couple of times because it means something. I'm hinting towards something. They're going to tell you the truth 2 times per year. Maybe a couple other times here and there, right? Middle of the season, a trade goes down, financial terms involved. But during the NFL draft, when they have to draft players, they tell you the truth about what they think of their offense, truth about what they actually thought about their previous quarterback, right? The New York Jets, get out of town, Sam Darnold, these types of things. The Chicago Bears, hey, we're not re-signing Mitch Trubisky. We don't want to pick up that 4th-year option. Free agency. Those are the 2 times they're going to tell you the truth. The NFL draft and in free agency. When they have to dish out, open up their wallets, their pocketbooks, and write a check. That's the time that they're going to tell you the truth. When they got to put their money where their mouth is, they're going to keep it a buck. And for this video, for the player we're talking about in this video, that's not a good thing. The team that the running back that we're about to talk about is on kept it a buck. They already put their money where their mouth was and invested in a replacement for this running back that we will talk about in this video. They traded up. They wanted him so badly that they traded up in the 2nd round of the NFL draft in 2021, this past year, to draft out of North Carolina, UNC. The Chapel Hill student, the man who broke PFF, Pro Football Focus's records for most broken tackles in a season, Javonte Williams. They traded up in the 2nd round to draft him. But the player that's going to be getting the consequences of this is Mr. Melvin Gordon. Yes, Mr. Melvin Gordon is going to be somebody that you're going to want to stay away from. And right now he's being massively overdrafted. Like if you have the 2021 rankings, my Supreme Draft Guide, link down below, get it limited time only, free right now. If you have that, you're never going to get him. You don't have to worry about this. But we're going to try and make this video to just hammer that nail and that point home a little bit more. You should not be taking this player. I mean, this is an older player at this point. Melvin Gordon is now 28 and a half years old, and they just drafted his replacement. And he's on the final year of his contract. I don't think he's going to be not used at all, but he's very similar to my outlooks on James Robinson. James Robinson is my RB40. He's been taken a round or two too early right now. Melvin Gordon is my RB39. He's currently going off the board ADP-wise around RB36, and that might sound like it's close. Oh, they're only 2 or 3 spots away. We have to factor in the entire average draft position, every position that's involved there. Right now, he's being taken at the 9-2, the 2nd pick of the 9th round for 12-team drafts. He is my current 10-1 pick, my 10th round pick. So he's getting drafted around early. That is significant, especially for a running back who I don't think is going to have a ceiling. You're just trying to get okay production. You might as well draft some of the younger players behind him or in front of him at even different positions, so many wide receivers there, that have an actual ceiling. Elijah Moore, Amari Rodgers, Dwayne Eskridge. I can keep going with these rookies that are going to have a role and actually have a ceiling to give you 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th round value in the 10th to 12th rounds. Melvin Gordon, you're drafting him right now in the 9th round. Maybe if he scores an extra touchdown or 2 and stays healthy, right? Assuming Javonte Williams is healthy, maybe he finishes as like an 8th round pick for you. But at this point, and we just had a beat report come out very recently, the Denver beat has said, and they're not going to just make this up, they're at the actual camps. Yes, you have to be worrisome about who the actual person writing this is, but a lead reporter for Denver Broncos beat has given us some breaking news. And that news is that you're going to see Javonte Williams lead this team in carries this year, and I'm already projecting him to. I'm projecting Javonte Williams to see 60% of the running back carries this season. Royce Freeman is still back there, right? They have him back there. That's fine. They have Mike Boone from Minnesota, who's been a great preseason player, and I expect him to be a great preseason player this year as well. Preseason football, very close for all of us. I cannot wait. We'll be covering here, so be sure to like, subscribe, notification bell on this channel so you can be notified of all that stuff. So those guys aren't much of a threat. What did Melvin Gordon do last year? Did he do enough when Philip Lindsay was there, who's now gone? Did he do enough to at least maybe say, hey, maybe it will be a 50-50 backfield competition? As you can see on the screen, he wasn't terrible. Averaged 4.6 yards per carry, just under 1,000 rushing yards, had 44 targets, and that's with Philip Lindsay in the backfield, so he was quality from that standpoint. Now, he had the 10th most rushing touchdowns, was tied with many running backs for that, so that's going to propel him upwards a little bit. 64% of the snaps, I see that going below 50% this year. But here is a very important stat. When Philip Lindsay was actually healthy last year, they played 10 games together. 10 games, count them 10, there's the big old hands on the screen. Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay. Only one time did he see 65 or more % of the snaps when Philip Lindsay was fully healthy. It was much closer to a 50-50 split. That is an undrafted free agent who's undersized, who's been fine, but undersized in Philip Lindsay. Not Javonte Williams, who was a 215, 220 round back coming out of a year where he set a record for broken tackles in college. And oh yeah, he's young and a second-round draft capital. There's going to be somebody who takes a lot of this workload away from Melvin Gordon. Now, I went back and watched film on Melvin Gordon to maybe see if there's some spark that I'm missing here, right? Something along the lines that he can break out. Maybe the line can help him out, open up some holes for him. But look, he's a consistent runner. He'll get you solid yardage. He's always been this 4 yards per carry guy, and he can do some stuff in space. In college in Wisconsin, very similar to Jonathan Taylor coming out of Wisconsin, not known for pass catching, but that was more so a product of the system. He benefited with Phillip Rivers when he was with the Chargers. And that's very similar from Jonathan Taylor benefiting from Phillip Rivers when he was with the Colts last year. So they both propelled off of this quarterback who is historically known for checking down to running backs. And now since he's been with Drew Lock, he's seeing okay usage in the passing game. I expect that to take a drop down as well this year. What we noticed last year and watching film from a few of these games myself, Melvin Gordon was game flow dependent. It was as simple as that. Depending on the way the game was going, and this is a bad Denver Broncos offense last year, a banged up defense, if they were trailing, he was not getting much usage. And maybe you see 2 or 3 targets, 44 total. That's not enough. That's not the 100 target seasons you're getting from the Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffreys of the world, right? So he is game flow dependent. And they just spent the 35th overall pick trading up to get Javonte Williams, who we will have another video out potentially another time. The Broncos firmly believe that he was the best running back in the class. And that's why they traded up to get him. They believe he's better than Najee Harris and Travis Etienne, both going in the first round. They were in line with Pro Football Focus, who ranked Javonte the #1 running back in this class. That's good value in the second round if that's the case compared to where the other 2 running backs went earlier in the first round. If you want to look back at last year, 5 running backs were taken in the second round last year or earlier. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers, all these guys were starters. J.K. Dobbins, they were starters at some point or had a heavy involvement in the offense. J.K. Dobbins, you can keep going with DeAndre Swift. The only one that wasn't was A.J. Dillon. And obviously Aaron Jones was there. Jamal Williams was there. That's a hard spot to crack into. Javonte Williams is going right into his starting role here. And that's bad for Melvin Gordon. And if we want to look back a little bit more and see some more historical numbers on second-round running backs, they usually get the starting nod pretty early. That's high draft capital. Miles Sanders, Nick Chubb, Ronald Jones, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry took a year because he was behind a DeMarco Murray. A DeMarco Murray coming off a career year with the Cowboys, just signed with the Titans, right? This was a situation where Derrick Henry was not going to start right away, similar to A.J. Dillon last year. But Melvin Gordon coming off a 900-yard campaign where he was banged up and averaged 4.5 yards per carry is not holding anybody back. On the screen right now, you can see what Javonte Williams did in his final year last year at UNC. He played alongside Michael Carter, who was also a day 3 pick, a 4th-round running back with the Jets, a solid running back, and he was still able to produce these numbers. 7.3 yards per carry. He had 30 targets. He had over 1,100 rushing yards, 22 total touchdowns. He saw an 8.5% target share, so he's a solid receiver. He was a better receiver at UNC last year, even with Michael Carter in the backfield, than Melvin Gordon was coming out of college by a mile. An 8.5% target share Melvin Gordon could only dream of during his time at Wisconsin. So I think he has the marks on the ground as a rusher, the red zone role, and I actually would take him in the receiving game, especially now that he's not going to have a threat like Michael Carter back there. And another reason to hammer home the point here is that there's other pass-catching running backs going well behind right now a Melvin Gordon. And these guys have stable roles on their offense. They can't get completely phased out because they're used in the passing game, whether that's all throughout the game as a third down back or in trailing situations. I mean, right now you have David Johnson being drafted right around where Melvin Gordon is going. He's going to have a greater snap share right now, right? Last year, he ended up seeing more yards per carry. He doesn't have as much competition. Philip Lindsay, the former Bronco, is there, but it's not as much competition as a brand new rookie coming back there. Melvin Gordon, if you're looking at ESPN ADP, he's going 30th overall, right? So that's more season long. I'm using Underdog, and he's going around like 36, 37, which is sharper ADP because earlier in the summer, people who are paying attention draft more. So Melvin Gordon's going to be a top 30, 32 back. He's my number 39 right now. You have guys like Nyheim Hines going well after him. Gus Edwards is going well after him, who's going to see a stable 10 to 12 touches a game. Red zone work, right? Nyheim Hines is going to see a lot of overall usage on both the ground and in the passing game. More so seeing the passing game usage, right? He ended up seeing red zone touches last year. Last year, Melvin Gordon saw more receiving yards, more red zone touches, and only 1.3 less fantasy points per game than Melvin Gordon. Yet he's going 3 or 4 rounds later. Doesn't make any sense. Now, I admit there's not a massive ceiling on Nyheim Hines types, but I think there's somewhat of a ceiling there. There's 1 or 2 or 3 games a year where you can see the 7 reception game. Anything happens to Jonathan Taylor, even better. I'm just saying that's more stable production than hoping Melvin Gordon can get his 10 to 12 carries a game, average 4 yards per carry, and he has 50 yards, and if he's not scoring a touchdown, he's probably the worst player on your roster that week, and likely many weeks. So don't do it. Ready? Hey, here we come. Don't do it. Don't draft him. Do not be drafting Melvin Gordon this year in fantasy. You just don't want to do it. They showed you. Hey. They showed you the hands. They already showed you the hands. They told you what they're going to do. They traded up to get this guy in Javonte Williams, a young, exciting player. Melvin Gordon's days in Denver on his last year of his deal, they're done. They're done. He's not going to have a career year. This is not the 24-year-old playing for the next contract. He already had his last big deal. He's done in Denver. You shouldn't be drafting him. Get the more exciting players that are going to look better in the preseason and get their stock to rise, and you can draft them more. When Melvin Gordon starts to go in the 8th round, and maybe even the 7th round during August when more casuals come in here, you don't even take him, right? You don't even want him in the 10th or the 11th round. You're going to get more higher upside players in your roster, and that's how you win in fantasy football. And if you have the 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, as many people do right now, hopefully you're going to join in there, you're set up for success with decisions like this at every single point in the draft. This is one video on one player. We have stances on everybody in there. Player profiles, ranks, top 100s. Get it down below right now. It's free, limited time only. Get up in there. Thanks to our sponsors over at Prize Picks. You all rock. Don't draft Melvin Gordon. Stay away from that guy. Do not draft him. I appreciate y'all tuning into this here video about staying away from Melvin Gordon. There's a 2021 fantasy football playlist that's going to pop up with more videos like this one, and you can roam around in there and see exactly what you're looking for. You can see that right now, and also a subscribe button. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor. It really does help and go a long way. It makes this enterprise continue to run. Hit that subscribe button as well. I'll see you all in the next one.